It is so good to see you.
So good to see you, Janine. And thank you everyone for being patient while we just worked out the right email in the right inbox and the right link.
Well, okay, so that was like worst case scenario was I didn't
And we
see you
got
and
through
you're
it.
here.
We
It's
figured it
fine.
out.
Yeah.
It's all good.
It's fine. Now I know you're also known as Keith, but today we'll call you Marie Forleo because that's how everybody knows you. And thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. And we have lots of people here who are friends of Uppercase Magazine and supporters of me. And really, this is just so exciting. I'm very nervous. So I wanted to start out by thank you so much for what you've been promoting through B-School all these many years. And I took it in 2014. And it really, like people say this to you all the time, I'm sure, but it literally changed my business. It changed my life. I was just at the lowest possible point in my business. You know, I had employees, I had, lots of print bills because printing a magazine and books is really expensive. And I was doing everything I thought I was supposed to be doing as a magazine publisher. Like I had an employee, I had another employee, I had an intern, had a nice office, big print bills, doing all this stuff. And it just wasn't working. And I didn't know why. And then I came across Marie TV and you were talking about B-School, and I just thought there's something here that is connecting with me in a way that hasn't been addressed before, that business doesn't have to be a struggle, that business can be something that's creative and beautiful. And so I just took the plunge and put B-School on my credit card and went for it. And immediately I saw results. It was just incredible. It was tough to go through it because at the time I still had everybody else, working with me, and we were really, really trying to pull the ship together and to get it up into a profitable way. But in the end, I realized that I had to let people go and start over and just take back control over every aspect of my business. And it was really painful to let go of really wonderful people and nice employees, but I just started over and had the confidence of knowing what I was supposed to be doing, thanks to your teachings in B-School. And within just a few months of applying what I learned, I was out of the financial hole. I was able to get the magazine back on track, and it's just been like upward since then. So thank you so much, really, everything. Thank you so much. I can't even express the change that it gave to me. Thank you.
Your words are so incredible. And just to acknowledge you did the work, and you were the one that trusted your heart, and you were the one that said, hey, there's an opportunity here. There's a possibility. There's another way for me to see this. There's another way for me to be in my business. There's another way for me to serve. And so I am so honored that we were able to play a part in your story and in your continued success of being able to share your gifts in a way that makes such an impact on others. Like our team, we're such huge fans of you, and we love what you create. And I'm personally so honored to be here because, in many ways, yes, I'm an entrepreneur, but I very much consider myself an artist. And I feel that there is such a beautiful opportunity for us as human beings. We're all born creators, and we have this chance to share our gifts in a way, however we want to express it. And for those of us that want to express it through a business, we don't have to check our artist identity at the door. It's just about adding on other skill sets. You might hear some sirens because I'm in New York, but I've seen some other New Yorkers on our on there thing waving in from New York. They know what it's about. Yeah. But it really is. It's a beautiful thing. And I think for many of us who identify as artists, there has been this separation, right, between the business side and the art side. And we'll talk about that a little bit. But there doesn't have to be. There can be this beautiful meld of expressing that which is most true in our hearts and our creativity in our own very unique ways, in such a way that allows our businesses to thrive, that makes an impact on our communities, and that leaves us feeling more of who we are, not less.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think I didn't realize that art and business could work side by side, because my training was only going to art college. I didn't have any marketing or business degrees. And even in art college, when I studied visual communications, illustration, and design, it was all about creating the thing, but not about like, how do you get clients? How do you develop a relationship so that there is someone who's wanting to support the art and the creativity that you want to make? So yeah, I always had this, there was a giant gulf between art and business, and I didn't understand how I could bring those together. And I think sometimes as artists, we feel like if we're trying to promote our work or to get money for our work, that we're somehow lessening the creativity or the artistic purity of what we're doing.
Yes.
But I know in B-School that you dispel those sorts of rumors. Could you tell us a little bit more about how you bring art and business together through B-School?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think on a really simplistic level, one of the things that we've all experienced in our life is seeing these beautiful, talented, gifted souls struggle. And we've all had the experience of seeing people who we were like, God, their work is so great, whether it's a visual artist or a musician or an actor or a writer or somebody. And you're like, why don't more people know about, like, how is this not out there in the world? And oftentimes for me, in my experience, when I've spoken to those people personally, and I've dug into what their practices are, there is a huge emotional block. It's like, what you were speaking about, this notion that if they promote themselves, if they go out and make connections, if they build their world in such a way that includes this art known as marketing, that somehow they're going to be less of an artist, or they're going to be pushy or aggressive, or someone who's a hack, or, there's a million different ways to think about it. And for me, what I discovered in my own journey was that in order for your art to thrive, other people need to know about it. And the more people that know about it and they exchange something, an energy called money, for that thing, all of a sudden your creativity gets to grow even bigger. There's more possibilities. There's more people that are contributing to your work. And so what I've learned is it's just simply a matter of most people not knowing that this thing called modern marketing exists. And the way I like to talk about it is, old school marketing, which most of us associate with marketing and sales, you kind of feel like a used car salesman, right? And you're pushy and you're manipulative and you're trying to get people to do something that's not in their best interest. And it's just kind of slimy and it makes you want to take a shower. Modern marketing, on the other hand, is like a completely different paradigm where the best of your humanity comes out, not the worst. So your generosity, your ability to be empathic and compassionate, your creativity, your desire to listen to another person and have them feel seen and heard and respected, your ability to surprise and delight, to create an experience for someone, whether that be joy or thoughtfulness or whatever kind of emotional experience that you want to help someone have, all of that has to be flexed when you are practicing what we call modern marketing. And it happens to be the most effective way to get people inspired to say yes to whatever your product or your service is, and have them love the experience. So most people just don't know that this exists, and they don't know that all of their creative skills, especially an artist, can actually be transferred over to their marketing if they would allow themselves the possibility of like letting their guard down and being open to a new way of seeing things.
Mm-hmm. My biggest immediate takeaway that I got from B-School was that I needed to start a newsletter. That I already had like a decent sized list of people because I'd been in business for a while and I had an art gallery and things that were going on that, I had grown that organically, but we weren't, when I had other people working with me, we weren't talking to the people in a way that was connecting in an emotional way. We were just like, oh, well, it's almost Christmas, we should market for Christmas stuff, or it's Mother's Day. So we're just like, we didn't have a clue. So when I restarted that approach, I just started talking from the heart. And my first newsletter was explaining like how tough things were at that point and how like it was like running a marathon with no end, that sort of thing. And that's just where I started, was telling my story authentically. And then more and more people connected, and they would reach out and we would actually have conversations. And, that was right at a time when I was still struggling financially. And I think it's because if you put out in the world, you're going to get back. And someone came to my door here at the office with $1,000 in cash and gave it to me because he wanted what I was doing to continue. And he wanted to be anonymous, but like, I still can't even believe that happened. And it's because, I was just telling like it was and just being authentic and explaining what I was trying to do. And it really resonated with people. And in turn, because of that generosity, I've learned through that gentleman and through taking B-School that I'm always trying to make sure that my business is something that gives back, that
Yes.
that generosity is part of business, and that the more successful you are, the more generous you can be. And these are things that I learned through watching you and through B-School. And I think those are the two biggest things that I live on a daily basis, is the authentic communication and that generosity of sharing, what you have to give to the world. It's so
Oh,
important.
yeah, it's so huge. And to build off that, it's like you're speaking to this so beautifully about bringing humanity back to business, where it's not like, how do I say the right thing? It's like, no, how do I tap into my heart and connect with the other human who's on the other side of the screen, who also has fears and hopes and dreams, and who also has dreams and desires for things to work, like this incredible gentleman who felt touched by you revealing exactly what's going on and said, no, I can take a step here and help this flourish. And I think that other point of generosity, that's why I get so fired up about specifically working with artists and creatives, because there's such a long standing history of the starving artist, the struggling artist. And that is a narrative that we need to leave behind, because as more artists are empowered around their ability to be financially free, it's like, think about all of the beauty that gets to exist in the world. Think about the types of people that get to connect and what they get to create together, and how we get to shift this world when we start to leave scarcity behind. And so I love that, having that rooting in generosity as a core part of your business, because it makes your business so much more fulfilling. It makes it so much more satisfying. You get connected to a different level of people, both in your business, potential employees and staff, but people in your community, other potential collaborators. So many good things pour out of that, but it all has to come from a place of enoughness. And that
Mhm.
starts with you.
Yeah. So all these people that are following right now, Uppercase is really eclectic. I call it for the creative and curious, because we love everything. If it's creative, we want to know how to do it. If it's tangent to what our focus is, we still want to know what it is, because it might like influence our work. So our readers are multi-passionate, and that's a term that I associate with you. I'm not sure if you coined it, but basically
I
it's
did.
yours. Yeah, you did. Okay, so the multi-passionate creative, that's all of us right now. How can being if you're a multi-passionate person, how can you make that your strongest trait? So rather feeling like you're like pulling yourself in all sorts of different directions, how can you harness this idea that you are in love with all sorts of different creative outlets and use that to build a creative life and a business that can support you?
I think it comes from an understanding, one, that being multi-passionate, having several different things that you're quite good at, you love doing, and that you want to share with the world, can be a great gift, as long as you have some skill sets underneath you. And this is where B-School really comes in, because, as a multi-passionate person myself, I was a dancer, I was a fitness person, I loved writing, I loved digital marketing, I loved visual art. Like, there were so many things, and I'm like, oh, how do I choose? And when I began to have a deeper level of understanding, it was like, oh, I need to understand a business model. I need to understand my own goals and vision for how I want my life to be at this stage and season of my existence. And when I have an understanding of numbers, business model, clarity around my own vision, all of a sudden I can start to place these passions in a way and position them both in my business and in my life, so that they're harmonized and they're working together. And the one that should be the main priority is, and I can let some of my other passions form that one. They don't have to fall off, but they don't all have to compete for one starring role at one time. And so that is something we talk a lot about in B-School, because it is an art, not a science, and it's going to be different for everyone. But if you don't ask yourself some of those right questions, if you don't have clarity around the numbers of your business, the desires that you have to meet, and the financial realities you have to meet in your life, and then really looking at your life in a perspective of long term, like, hey, what are these next 3 to 5 years? What does this really require of me? What are my other responsibilities in the world? What does this look like in terms of my age and my stage, right? And when you are able to make those clear decisions, all of a sudden being a multi-passionate person becomes one of your greatest advantages, because you have clarity and you know what you should be focused on now, and you know what places you want to monetize and what places are simply passions that inform your main business, or things that you just do for joy and to build up your creativity and to expand that. But without that clarity, it can sometimes feel like a curse.
Yeah. Well, and for people who take B-School, there's a course within the course called Start the Right Business.
Yes.
And that is so valuable. I think a lot of people whom I've had affiliate students in the past have gotten into Start the Right Business, and they spend a lot of time there because they realize that they need to tweak an idea in order to make sure that it's going to be viable.
Yeah,
Or they get super inspired and come up with a new business idea that they didn't originally have, but the next one is even better. So
that's right.
that's a great aspect of B-School.
Yes, I'll just give one more word to that and we'll keep going. So for
Mhm.
everyone listening, start the right business. If you are a person who's multi-passionate, you're like, I don't know what to focus on. Start the Right Business is something we take you through that's included in B-School. That is like clarity supercharged. It will help you vet and test your ideas in both a place from real world experience, but also from your own heart and your own intuition. So we're blending your own internal wisdom with real world market feedback so that you know for yourself exactly what's best for you to focus on. And it has changed so many lives, again, because we've got a lot of multi-passionate people around us.
And it can help even for me when I redo it every year. I go through and it helps focus, because throughout the course of the year, things change, I change, my customers change. So there's always things that are in flux. So it's good to have a foundation to go back to and to like reevaluate. Am I in the same spot as I was last year, or do I want to change my focus or something? So it's a great tool, even if you already have a business, just to, to let
Yeah.
people know. And for people who don't know, once you're a B-Schooler, you're a B-Schooler for life. So you have access to that. We actually have some people dropping in some questions, which is cool. So I'll address those in a second. But I had prepared a few things. Obviously, the pandemic has affected everybody in all sorts of ways. And many artists and designers have relied on the past on in-person opportunities like teaching workshops and retail outlets and trade shows and all sorts of things that have necessarily dropped off for our safety. And so many of us have had to turn online towards, or perhaps offering an e-course or some teaching, or just trying to connect to customers in ways that perhaps people haven't been doing in the past. So can you maybe talk a little bit about how B-School and having an online presence through a website is something that artists should really be interested in and that should focus on right now?
100%. So I have this incredible gift of perspective because I was kind of early in on this game. I started a virtual distributed team business way back in the year 1999. And I was trying, and I've been beating the drum for the past 13 years for other people, like, you've really got to get your online presence together, because it's one of the things that can give you location freedom, financial freedom. And then no matter what's happening with the world, which obviously the pandemic taught us that things can change on a dime, having an ability to connect with people who are excited about what you create, and having these relationships that you've built over time where you've created trust. And like Janine was talking about, where she would talk with her newsletter and develop these real relationships. When things change, and it's inevitable that they do, we don't know what's coming next, you have this incredible ability to continue to be creative. You have this incredible ability to continue to make a living, to make your art and to make a difference. And so there's not one right way to do it, but in B-School, we walk you through the minimum of what you should do. And you don't have to be on a gajillion platforms unless that drill really makes you happy. For most of us, it drives us crazy, right? It's just too much. But we teach you where to focus your time and attention to build an asset that's going to serve you and your creative career for the rest of your life. And as Janine was talking about, one of those primary tools is your email newsletter. And a lot of people think it's all social, but it's like, no, it's not, because you don't own the connection with your clients there. The platform does. Just like I think it was last year in 2021, Facebook went down, Instagram went down for a few hours, and people were just like, wait, what? All of these people, their ads, they couldn't reach them, whatever. But the people that had email newsletters, they were fine. They was like, you know what? We can still send an email. We can still get to the core people that really like us. So I think for any artist, any creative, it is imperative that you have your online game together, that you understand the pieces, that you don't get overwhelmed, that you don't rely on algorithms. Terrible. And that you really have a smart strategy in place that is custom tailored to you and to your career and your business goals, and that really works for you as a creative being. And that's all possible. And we teach you how to do that in B-School.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for people who are pivoting from, they were doing in-person workshops before, and maybe now that they're uncomfortable with still doing that, and they want to do some online courses or other offerings, B-School can definitely help you with that, because you'll understand how to who those ideal customers are and how to reach them, and they might not be local anymore to you. You're actually opening up the possibility of a lot more than just what you were used to. I think there's room for incredible growth.
And also the ability to collaborate, right, with other artists or other creatives, cross-platform and cross-discipline, who might have large audiences that are in a completely different part of the world that would have never been able to come to your particular town for a workshop. It's like there's so many possibilities. And I will say this, I am an optimist at heart. I do think that I think that we're going to start seeing some shifts in terms of us being able to gather together in person. That's what I'm working on from my brain and from my heart. And you are still going to see everyone relying on things like this to hear about new things from friends. And if they're like, oh, did you hear about this particular artist? Oh yeah, send me, what's their website? Send me something about them. So you want to have your online presence always set up and ready to go, so that as the world changes, this is the asset that keeps on serving you no matter what change is happening in the external environment.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of artists are feeling that they're drained from Instagram and it being in service to the algorithm. I think we're all tired of that. And Absolutely. So taking back authorship of your own creative life, of having a newsletter, if that's where you connect, or creating like an online community platform that's private just for your, authentic audience. Those are all really viable and exciting ways of not being beholden to big algorithms. Yeah.
Right. And you know what I think the great thing, Janine, now is there are more plug and play tools available than have ever been. When I first started, everything was custom coded and you had to build it from scratch. And now there's just so many more possibilities. And those are also the conversations that we have in B-School. We talk about the latest platforms in terms of private community. We talk about the latest service providers in terms of who you should be using, who you might want to consider. And it's really nice to get to hear from a lot of different entrepreneurs in different industries, because you learn about things that you would have never been exposed to otherwise. And I think that's one of the most valuable pieces of what we do.
Yeah. So we're almost at half an hour. So you have a couple more minutes with us?
Absolutely.
A few more questions. Okay. So I had a prepared question, but as a publisher and designer, and I'm always curating people, and I'm like communicating with hundreds and hundreds of artists. One of the themes that I find is a lot of people have fear. They have fear of expressing their true creative self. They have fear of putting themselves out there, and their gift of creativity is all tied up with their self-worth. It's very vulnerable, often, to be an artist and to promote yourself. There's the comparison trap, there's like all of these different things. So how can B-School help people gain confidence and realize their potential and get rid of that fear?
Yes. Well, one of the things I think that is so important to recognize is when you're by yourself, right, in your home creating, most of us aren't necessarily surrounded by a huge community of creatives and artists doing the same thing. And if we do surround ourselves with other artists, like you said, you're comparing yourself to other people, you're looking at their Instagram and you're feeling like crap afterwards. Let's just call it what it is. In B school, I think what's really different is when you're a B schooler, you are inspired by so many different types of people that are putting themselves out there. And there is also a huge amount of support, both myself and we have an enormous, beautiful team of B school mentor coaches who are all not only B school grads, but successful business owners themselves across disciplines. So it could be a graphic designer. It could be someone who's a clothing designer. It could be another person who does websites. Like, there's just a wide range of our B school mentor coaches, and we'll be there to support you. If you have a particular fear, you want to post about it, you want to have a chat about it, there is just so much support that's built in. And no one's about competing. We're all about building each other up. And I think that there is a transformational effect when you put yourself in an environment where everybody's going for it. Everybody wants to see everyone else win. And you've got that type of touch point regularly where you can do something, we'll check in with you, you'll come back, you'll let us know it's done, people will cheer you on. It's a beautiful, beautiful environment to, fear's never going to go away, right? But rather than being by yourself, why not use this opportunity to learn and to train yourself to produce on the regular, so the fear just fades into the background and you get more excited about producing rather than staying back and being scared about what you should do.
Definitely. The taking action is what is required to just put that fear behind you and just to keep going forward.
Yes.
Yes, like having Marie Forleo in a Zoom call. This has been amazing. We're already at 12:30, unfortunately, so I'm sure you have another place that you need to hop on to.
This has been fantastic. I just have to say, I just want to, before you wrap up, I want to just thank everyone for their time and their attention today. And I just want to let you know how much love and respect I have for you. Anyone who creates anything for a living, it's really hard. And I personally, having been online for over 20 years now, I know what that feels like. I know what it feels like to have horrible things said to you, said about you. It's not easy, but I will tell you, there are so many people out there who are craving your particular art form. One of my beliefs, and this, Janine, is that for every single person listening right now, you're here for a reason, both here listening to this call, but in a grander scheme here on earth. And you were born with a particular set of gifts that only you have. And if you are listening to this right now, whether it's B-School or something else, and you don't do everything possible to set yourself up so that you can share those gifts with others, you're stealing from those who need you most. And I often tell people, it's like you're a one-time mega event in the universe. There has never been anyone like you, and there will never be anyone like you ever again. So this is your opportunity to be you. And if something in your heart is telling you that you're ready to play at another level, are you ready to express yourself more consistently? You want to get your art and your crafts and your products and your services out there in a different way. We certainly hope that you come join us, because we love our creatives, we love our artists, we love all of our students, and we're so committed to them having success, and having success in a way that aligns with their heart and their values. So I just hope that you'll come join us, because it's a beautiful experience. And Janine, again, our team just loves you and appreciates you, and we are so thrilled for everything that you continue to create.
Thank you so much to you and to all your team. And I'm just really still proud to be in the periphery of this and to help promote B-School every year. Is really an honor. If people have questions of me, they can just email me later. And sorry, I haven't had a chance to read the chat, but I will save that and I will answer people's questions later on by email. So thank you again, Marie. And everyone can see you again this week in the webinar that you have coming up. And I've dropped that link in the chat here for people to sign up.
Yes, for anyone that's interested, it's a super tactical webinar. Make sure that you have your notebook and your pen and your pad ready, because you will come away with lots of ideas that you can actually implement like right at the end of the webinar. So you'll have tons of actionable ideas to get your products and your services out there, and we have a lot of fun with it too. So Janine, thank you so much.
Thank you, Marie.
It was so great to be with you. Have a good
afternoon. Thank you, everybody.
See you soon.
Bye.